Welcome brawlers, I'm the Hermit, and I'm here to introduce a new recurring character, because our commander today is Vondam, Sunstar Exemplar. For 1 Orzhov mana, we get a 2/2 legendary human knight with vigilance and menace. Whenever another creature you control dies or is put into exile, put a +1 counter on Vondam and you gain 1 life. Then, when Vondam dies, or when he's put into exile, if its power is 4 or greater, destroy up to 1 target non-land permanent. So this is gonna be an aristocrat deck, and what we're gonna be trying to do is make our commander go big, and once he's big enough, then we send him to the graveyard, we exile him, and return him to the battlefield. So we play either Parasitic Ghost, Pelia, Exuberant Shepherd, or we use Feign Death, Malekith's Rebirth as a way to return him right away, or if we wait for we have priority, we can use Patch Up, Scout for Survivors, Tilted Awake, Helping Hand, which allows to return small creatures from the graveyard to the battlefield. However, if we haven't sent our commander there yet, we can instead send one of our value creatures, so Spirited Companion, Jittering Skull Speaker, even Bulwark Cox. And since Vondam's ability also gains us life, we have Ocelot's Pride and Cat Collector, I guess, to get more fodder for our sacrifice effects. Whenever we gain life, we make cats and more cats. Or even if we have Amalia, we can just explore and hopefully get some lands out of the deal. Also, we have Starfield Shepherd, which we can warp, and when it enters, we get a basic plains or a creature with mana value 1 or less. That can be either a sacrifice outlet in Gas Guzzler, sacrifice fodder in Forsaken Miner, or protection in Skrelp and Giver of Runes. From Age of Eternities, we also have Anticausal Vestige. When this creature leaves the battlefield, draw a card, then you may put a permanent with mana value less than or equal to the number of lands you control. So most of our deck is gonna be either 4, which we can use for the warp cost, or all of it is gonna be 6 mana value or less if we paid for the full cost. Color's Faithful, also from Edge. When this creature enters, destroy up to 1 other target creature. If that creature wasn't dealt damage this turn, its controller draws 2 cards. So we can either use it as a way to have another Village Rites if we have other creatures, or in a pinch, or when we want to push for lethal, we can use it to remove one of our opponent's creatures, even if we get them 2 cards. Or if we have one of our disposable 1/1s in the cut, we can attack, our opponent blocks, and then we Faller's Faithful, and essentially we trade our opponent's big creature for a 1/1. Another use for the 1/1s is just drawing and putting minus counters with Yawgmoth's Ramphysician, Surveilling with Sahur, Surveilling again with Umbral Collar Zealot, exiling something with Rite of Oblivion, and just maybe drawing a card with Scornblade Berserker. We can also use this. It synergizes with our commander with just the Berserker. We can play it, and because it has backup, we can put the counter on Vondam. It becomes a 3/3. We then pay the 1 to sacrifice the Berserker, draw a card. Vondam becomes a 4/4, and because of backup, we can pay 1, sacrifice our commander, and we get the removal as well as another card. Other than that, we have the Sephiroth, Warren Soul Trader, Forsaken Manor combo, and card draw whenever we hit our opponent, so Geeks, And the LG Acolyte from Orchard of Eternities. Card draw with Enduring Innocence, which is also a sacrifice fodder. Welcoming Vampire. And a little bit of a protection with Invasion of Govakan. And the Ox again. So that's pretty much the deck. We make our commander big. Hopefully attack with him a couple of times because he has menace. And once we want to remove our opponent's stuff, if we don't have regular removal, we sacrifice our commander and then bring him back. So that's pretty much the deck. Let's head into the queue and become our opponent's recurring nightmare. Now, one way you could also lean into this deck is by having more 1-mana creatures and either also playing Ranger Captain of Eos as well as Recruiter of the Guard, but I just decided to put the one in the one from Edge of Eternities because it's an uncommon and I wanted to try it out. Now we are against Tasigur, so they're gonna be self-milling. Okay, we have a Corb, Gas Gosler into Ocelot Pride, and from there it's either Amalia or a commander. And yeah, I forgot to mention Archangel of Tones because the Archangel, whenever we gain life, which we do whenever we sacrifice something, if our commander is in play, then we get a counter on each of our creatures. And that's not a bad place to be. Here, let's get Vondam. Attack and see if they trade. Okay, it seems like that's the case. We have a 3/3 now. And obviously we knew they kind of wanted to trade because of Tasigur's ability. Tasigur, one of the commanders that tend to circumvent the commander tax. And the opponent reanimates Zoro, which essentially only costs 1 mana. Oh, they didn't have another land. Here I think we play Ocelot Pride and next we're gonna get Amalia. And maybe exile with Touch the Spirit Realm. Yeah, I think we are sorely looking for one of our reanimation spells. I guess we could also play regular reanimate. But again, whenever I'm building, I try to not flood the deck with the best cards we can. That we get more or less fair matchups. And opponent washes away Amalia. Okay. So let's touch the Spirit Realm on the Collector. Sure. Now we're gonna have a token which we can sacrifice in order to exile hopefully Tasigur. Unless our opponent plays a bigger threat here. Seems like they're gonna use Jet Collector to return order. Okay, now they're just trying to get their Mox Jet. And they get Tasigur for 3. A patch up. So let's get it. One of the better cards for reanimate. We get essentially. Ooh, okay. If it resolved, we would get 3 mana value worth of creatures. And I think we need some of our card advantage cards here. We do have a few, so let's see if we get one of them. And yeah, obviously mana drain is really putting us against the wall. So let's see what our opponent does here. Here, let's get you. And then we're gonna attack with our commander. If they choose to double block, then it's also a trade. And we'll assign damage like that. Now to the command zone. Yep. Now Tasigur costs 10, I think. Oh. Maybe they are hoping to, or waiting until they escape Uro. Yeah, that makes sense, I think. Need one more card. And this little interaction reminds me of Trana Butcher of Malakir. She has first strikes, and when she deals damage, you put a counter on every other creature you control. Maybe every other attacking creature? I don't fully recall. Okay, opponent concedes. Even though we got a little low on the card advantage effect, card advantage race, we managed to just have enough stuff to get too lethal against them. And also they chose to keep Tasigur in the graveyard, which, I mean, even if they just had it in the command zone, they recast it, it doesn't do much for them, so not the worst decision, but it's definitely one I'm not sure I would take myself. Okay, we found a match, and it is against Sagan Raider Warlord. This should be interesting. I think we might be at a disadvantage. Our opponent's deck is gonna be an aggro deck, and they're gonna have first strikers because they want to get to max speed, and then whenever Sagan attacks, they're gonna make their creatures become hyper huge, and they're gonna have first strike. So they skipped a turn 1 play. So we are not okay. If that's removal, we're okay with it. Yeah, we're not too worried now. We still would like some form of removal here, but we can play Jadar, we have our board going. If this is a haste creature, okay, it's Sagan, so. And we do get Parting Ghost. So how do we play this? Okay, let's get Warren Soul Trader. We're gonna sacrifice a zombie. And at the beginning of the end step, we're gonna get another zombie, which we then will sacrifice. Get a treasure and use Parting Ghost with the gift. Take a fish opponent. You are fed for today. But the question is, can you feed yourself for the rest of your life? Now the only quote-unquote problem is we no longer have sacrifice fodder until our end step, and if we don't draw another land, we're just gonna be at 3 for the next turn. Brutal Cathar. Okay, that is brutal indeed. They take Warren Soul Trader. Of course, sacrifice another creature, so we cannot sacrifice it in response, but that's fine. However, our opponent is gonna be increasing their speed, and that part I do not like. There we go. We have the land, the Elegy Acolyte, and we get the token from Jatar. Let's see how our opponent moves forward here. If they get Sagan, maybe they try to get their speed up. In order to do that, they would need to attack with the fish and their goblin. We double block the goblin, they trade for Jadar. Okay, that seems not ideal. If instead they choose not, okay, that's another way to do it. All of the Skyclaves, you get a flying first striker. Triumphant Adventurer. Here we need to Deadly Dispute, I think. But first we attack with our Gate Zombie. Gate triggers. Let's see if they block. 2 damage. And then we sacrifice. Here I think we play Gas Ghostler. We can also play Vondam, I think. The question is, do we want a Corpse Marauder or Felia? The Marauder would likely take their Goblin, and Felia can get us back our Cathar. Let's get the Marauder, I think. Oh, I guess I needed to sacrifice Jadar here because we're gonna get robot token from the Acolyte. So Jadar wasn't as needed. We sacrifice Jadar, we can then Felia. But then I guess we need to play Felia first. Yeah, it was a tricky sequence there. Is this double attack doesn't make much sense to me. They only need to deal damage with one of them. So now they are more vulnerable. We're gonna be drawing more cards with the Acolyte. Yeah, maybe they need some card advantage and they got the spread. But we're obviously gonna take the damage here. However, we are the ones who are desperate to... We're desperate for removal for Sagan. We don't want to face it, I think. Let's see, we return the Marauder. Or, okay, I guess we can go for the Berserker route. We will put the counter on the Acolyte. Then we will sacrifice the Berserker. Draw a card, put a counter on Vondam. All attack except Yadar. The opponent lets it go. 1 to 5. Oh, right. That we need to put the counter on Vondam in order to... In order to get the removal. But we're still okay. I think? Maybe not. Okay, let's see if this is enough damage to kill us. I don't think it is. Because we need to use a Ganju in response to Sagan's trigger. Yeah. So that's 4 damage. They get to venture into the dungeon and they get 3 plus 3 plus 3. But they don't have first strike anymore, so, and also not double strike. So let's block here, here, and we take 11. Yeah, I really misplayed that one. I need to put the counter on Vondam and then do the removal thing, killing Sagan. But we still had enough advantage that it didn't matter too much. And here I think we just exile Imperial Lancer. No blockers, we deal our opponent lethal. Yep, I said this would be an interesting one. And it seems like it was. Good games, Sagan. Good games. You almost had us, but I guess it was mostly my own fault for that. Now it's Valky God of Lies, also known as Tibalt something or other. Cosmic Impostor. Okay. We don't have a play turn 1. And yeah, I don't think we want this hand. Okay, this one is actually worse. Only black lands. But maybe it can work. We have our 0-point ballad. This is like a new version of Midhook Massacre. It's not quite the same, but it's more or less in the same vein. You pay X, you destroy your creatures with toughness X or less, but then if X is 6 or more, return a creature with from a graveyard. Put it into a graveyard with this way under the battlefield. However, you still lose 6 life. Or X life, I mean. Oh. So yeah, this is good, and this is why it's kind of different, but also the same as Midhook. But the fact that the creatures that survive stay at the original power and toughness can be either a detriment or a plus, depending on your deck. And it seems opponent is playing some sort of control deck. Rakdos control, Rakdos mid-range. Otherwise, what would you play? Argol's Bloodfast. Okay, kind of unlucky we drew a colorless land, Preacher of the Schism. I guess we should name Angel here. Yeah, and I guess that Mulligan really coming back to haunt us. Our opponent is gonna draw a card and get their 1-1. Guess it's not the worst since we can still use 0-point ballad with X equals 4. Both the creatures are gonna die, and if they play something else, it also dies. But we really wanted that to push for lethal instead of playing defense with it. However, yeah, they don't have any form of counter spells. Maybe if they had this card, they could take 0-point ballad. So we shouldn't be too worried, depending on their play here. Maybe they just draw 2 cards, or just the 1. Okay. Since they are drawing with the Bloodfast, then they're not gonna be drawing even more cards, and I think maybe we're okay with that. Unless they are holding up Bitter Triumph, in which case that kind of sucks. So let's go for the Shepherd here. And we're gonna get Giver of Runes. I guess we could also get the planes. We do need a planes in order to cast Vondam and the Ox in the same turn. I'm also thinking about using the snare to get the blood fast. Order Rider. Yeah, we don't mind that. We already essentially drew 2 cards, so it's at 3 for 1. Well, 3 for 2 because they can play Murderous Rider as a creature. Shadow Spear. Okay. Here, we pull the trigger. 4. Use for life. But we get Giver of Runes. Yeah, I think we're also at a disadvantage because once they get to 7 mana, they're gonna be playing bulky, or rather, Tibalt. That's gonna be the hardest thing we're gonna be dealing with. But we'll see, we'll see. March of Wretched Sorrow on the Giver of Runes. Yeah, so they are definitely Raptors mid-range. We need to figure a way to stop them. Okay, Undying Malice. Not the worst. But they are gonna play bulky here. Into Dust. Okay. Mid-Cook Massacre. Fine. We get it first. We're gonna decline. Yeah, we're kind of sorely missing that. That second white mana. My bad, my bad. And I guess that did bait another removal, but and that's not our highest concern, I think. Throat. And the Cook Massacre sequel is gonna dealing damage to us. Okay, they get their murderers right there. Yeah, I think not getting that second white really hurt us. And they were gonna cast their commander soon. We didn't have a clear answer to it. Well, Belarus there, but if we played it, then we didn't have enough white to do something else there. So I guess that was a good game to debut. And I guess I was a little salty for that one because it was my own fault. I needed to get the white source. I had the chance to get it, or even if we mulliganed a little bit down to 6. Maybe that would have made a better game. But it still was fine. I mean, we didn't lose by that much, but we were for sure losing, I think. Okay. I think here we play Helpful Hunter and then Enduring Innocence, and we see what we get from there. Our opponent is playing Dion, Bahamut's Dominant. I think they're gonna be an aggressive deck and they're gonna be playing lots of knights. Because Dion gives the knights flying during their turn. More reanimation. Okay. That's Dion from opponent. Doesn't matter. We're gonna eat Dion alive, I think. And we're gonna offer the trade. We don't mind it. Next turn I'm thinking we can get Hunter back. Who else bet? Okay, that's gonna be the target for Vondam, I think. First, let's attack. And I think that's pretty much the outcome we wanted to see. Play Village Rights. Decline. Kill Elspeth. Okay. We just call a surprise witness. They're Vondam. Grab and pass. Full Rider that can destroy Enduring Innocence. Get lost or summon them. Line. We should patch up Enduring Innocence and then call the Death Dweller on Sir Vondam. Or actually, maybe Catherine Nightmare. Okay, yeah. Opponent concedes. Good game, Dion. I think you needed to be more aggressive if you were to beat us. But I think they also kept because they had Elspeth. And also, well, this is kind of more of a pet peeve of mine, but if you want to play more aggressive decks, don't think it's right to play Arcane Signet. But people fall into the pitfall of adding into every single deck. I guess it is what it is. Against Ketramos, the new Dawn. And because we have a Corpse Marauder, we have actually 2 pieces of removal for Ketramos. And Esper Sentinel is gonna be taxing our opponent's removals. And it has Relic. And the play Arcane Signet. Thoughtseize. Okay. So our win condition is to be more aggressive and kill them before they can draw too many cards. So let's go for that. And also maybe their life loss they're gonna have by drawn cards. It's gonna help us deal lethal earlier. So are they stuck on lands? Maybe. Ooh. So that is yet another point for us. Actually, oh yeah, let's take Ketramos. I was debating exiling Arcane Signet, but it didn't seem like it was enough. The one ring. So here, what should we do? I guess we can play Sephiroth. Sacrifice nothing. And we keep playing this up. No attacks. Let's see if the one ring also deals some amount of damage to them. So I think I like our odds then. If they play Ketramos, we are also not unhappy with that. Extinction event. Ooh. Okay, that shouldn't be too much of a problem. They either exile Sephiroth and the Sentinel. If they do so, we get 2 counters on our commander. Another removal for Ketramos. So we're gonna get Giver of Runes, and Forsaken Miner. When it's gonna draw, we like that. Take as much damage as you want, and then some opponent. Let's get Ramos. And I guess we should cycle. No, let's. Our opponent sacrifice their commander. Do you want to draw a card, opponent? Of course you do. What's the play here? And it goes to 6 and let's get Enduring Innocence. Opponent draws, they're gonna go to 4. I clear Apparition on Giver of Runes. That one is gonna hurt because since they exiled before the thing was resolved, they get to not give us a card. Okay, Temperat's protection. Let's get our commander back. That was ephemeral, so they're gonna get double exile. So what's it gonna be now, opponent? Rule Cross Heist. I mean, Eternal Life might be the best card to attack us with. Okay. Yeah, they don't like our hand. There's no life gain, so they're gonna die to their own One Ring. Pretty much like we expected. And I guess that's another deck building choice I don't agree with. If you're playing a commander that already has card advantage like Etramos, then there's not really too much of a need to play the One Ring. Okay, it's Donjulum. That's gonna be making copies of their stuff. It makes artifacts or lands that aren't creatures. into 3/3 spirits with double team. Doesn't give them haste, and also doesn't untap them. So let's see how they build it. If they are the lands deck and they care about creature lands, so if they are just artifact deck, we have the ones that cycle when they come in and when they leave, and eventually they double team, they make copies of it, and they just flood us with value. What is it gonna be? I mean, they have a squee avatar, so I didn't expect them to just time out, so maybe they just left their PC on or something. Who knows? So let's look at our hand. We want to turn to Vondam and then follow up, I think, with Felia and keeping up Undying Malice. And the turn after that, we maybe draw a cheap creature which we can use Color's Faithful on. Or we can also, if we draw the land, we can play the Vestige or Warp, and because this is a Lips trigger, we can link it with Felia. Opponent is back. Good, good, good. And Vision making. Okay. And Cold Steel Heart. Nice synergy right there. And I guess I didn't need to play that Sorcery Speed. Emergent Sequence. That's a creature land, so a nice synergy. Do we want to take the 1 damage? I think so. And I guess we're gonna want to kill their land here. So, Wrath of God. That kind of messes with our stuff. I guess I needed to leave that in the graveyard. We should attack first. We're doing okay, I think. Thousand Moon Smithy. So let's look at our opponent's hand. Laser Kitten. Get rid of that for sure. If they play Sculpting still, they can copy the Smithy, but they would need to sacrifice one of them to the legend rule. Catilda, Dawnheart Martyr. And Planar Genesis. Okay. I guess they play in Catilda because of the amount of spirits they're gonna be making. Yeah, that makes sense. Sacrifice a cat token. Maybe they commit the 5-3. That's okay. Good game. Okay. Good game. Yeah, maybe they were not too focused on being something. Also, again, Thousand Moon Smithy, maybe a little too expensive and something you don't want to copy with. But I guess the token is good enough, so maybe that's why they play it. Kind of sad that they didn't get to cast their commander, or they chose not to. But alas, I guess destroying their land was a good choice in the end. Even though they managed to draw into the Wrath, they were almost, it seemed like they were almost 1 mana short for catching up. And now we have Sephiroth. Yeah, this is kind of bad, but let's trade for the Gust. They're gonna get a treasure, and hopefully they played Sephiroth here. We can then remove it. Okay, they don't. So that was smart on their part. Station Sage. Okay. Let's see if we draw another land. Then we're gonna be able to get that token. Gonna get Sephiroth, sacrifice their Sage. And we're gonna reanimate our Marauder. Black market connection, so opponent is gonna be taking damage all on their own. Right now they can only reanimate their 1-drops. Oh, they can take one of ours. Okay, I mean, to the command zone, of course. That was a little out of order, opponent. Okay, we have Vondam. Opponent has Sephiroth. Opponent sacrifices a creature. A non-token creature. Get a token, we get a card. I think we're winning this one. We now have Kitsune Nightmare. Each opponent. What's 2? Yep, good game. Good game indeed. Yeah, and I guess we were the superior, and the superior sacrifice deck, and opponent really messed up when they played their black market connections before they made a sacrifice upon them. So good games. I guess that's it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed the content. If you do, subscribe, all that thing. And as always, I will see you in the next one, and goodbye. I guess maybe we could